The evening glow. No great man lives in vain, and the life of every great man only has meaning insofar as it aids in making the life of everything living nobler and more beautiful. Every great man imprints his name and image on the minds of those who are drawn to him. And Swami Abhedananda has left deep imprint not only in the minds of his own people, but also in the minds of millions of English and American people, just in the same way as did Swami Vivekananda. The life of Swami Abhedananda has another significance for us. As one follows the growth and development of this unique spirituality, one finds it as a beautiful flower having eternal fragrance. This reminds us one of his own sayings, which goes like this: "We have to grow like flowers close to the earth in beauty and simplicity. Then the fragrance will do its work like the fragrance of the flowers." As we look at his eventful and glorious life with all its achievements and noble aspirations, we are reminded of what Simpson Carter, the famous American poet of the late 19th century, expressed in a poem that goes like this: "With cheerful step, adown the western slope, the gray-haired singer goes. The sunset sky is flushed with rosy hope as earthlight nears its close." Let us therefore now look at the evening glow of the life of a man who knew that to have all we want, we must give all we have. And Swami Abhedananda had everything he wanted in the pursuit of his spiritual sadhana, which began at the feet of Sri Ramakrishna, almost in the morning hours of his life. And as an acharya or teacher, he gave away everything he had during the evening hours of his life for the emancipation of mankind. Let us also try to catch some of the evening glows of the life of this great monist. All accounts of Abhedananda's life are incomplete if we do not take into our consideration the workings of his inner mind during the last few years of his life, when the Ramakrishna Vedanta Muth and its final abode in its newly built premises was consecrated in the name of the Master, and at the time of installing the portraits of Sri Ramakrishna and his divine consort Sharada Devi inside the main temple, his prayer was, "O my Master, do thou remain here forever." The prayer came from the innermost recess of his soul, which itself was dedicated to the altar of his own high spirit, which had the baptism at the hands of Sri Ramakrishna. The teacher, to whom hundreds of aspirants then used to come at the Muth, did well his part. He perfected a genuine spiritual character, which fed the whole band of his disciples and devotees, just as the gentle dews of heaven fall softly at night and keep the vegetable world alive. His pure and simple life, living upon the faith in God, his lofty thoughts rising to the deep meanings of things seen and unseen, his pious sentiments breathing love of God and also of man, and his profound spiritual experiences, realizing God and immortality, call forth our true nature and lead us on to a life of devotion and renunciation, and as well reminds us of our destiny, which is the life in God. Since the foundation of his own two centers, one at Darjeeling and the other at Calcutta, Abhedananda, as it were, set himself to the serene in the vineyard of the Lord, which is not confined to any particular sect or nationality. True love has a service to give which extends all over the world. It has a mission for every soul stricken with sin and sorrow. Wisdom, deep insight, and genuine spirituality appeal to everyone, whether born in the Orient or the Occident. Amidst the din and bustle of Calcutta, and also in the solitude of the Himalayas, the great teacher now took himself to the task of creating an atmosphere which would breathe nothing but spirituality. His life in the Himalayas was a delightful and profitable study. There, amidst nature's beauty and silence, he was engaged in his quiet occupation of meditation. Most of his books and profound writings were written there. He used to get up early in the morning and walk in the lovely road in front of the Vedanta ashrama for a short while, deeply immersed in meditation. Tea was made by this time, which he took alone, sitting on the veranda facing the mountain range. He then used to go out on a long walk alone, going through lovely roads, and plunged into deep meditation. Walking was one of the chief enjoyments of his life. The habit remained with him almost to his last days. He used to return home at 9 o'clock and at once sit down to write, and was thus engaged till 11. A bath followed, which was to him a daily baptism. He now entered his sanctuary and spent about an hour in meditation. Who will forget having once seen the solemnity and sanctity of the occasion? His adoration was an echo of some celestial music. Perhaps, as he said, my chiefest delight is in meditation. It was speechless meditation with the unspeakable divine presence for his only witness. Breakfast followed, and during this time he was in the same devout mood as characterized in the morning hours. It was indeed to him a feast of the spirit. The meal being over, he read one of the daily papers, usually the Statesman, after which he rested for a while. From 3 to 5 in the afternoon, he again went on writing after taking a walk for about an hour. In the evening, visitors and devotees called on him, and he talked with them on a variety of subjects, domestic, social, political, and religious, according to the nature and character of the visitor. When alone, he used to read. There was hardly any idle moment with him, even in old age. Such was his life on the hills during the summer days. Swami Prajnaananda, one of the disciples of Swami Abhedananda, has depicted an excellent account of his master's life in the Bengali book Mana o Manush, The Man and His Personality, which gives us a glimpse of the evening glow during the closing years of the Swami's appreciative life. The book, A Proper Appreciation of the Great Swami, deals chiefly with the discussions the author had with the master, and as such it is quite valuable. It is full of interesting accounts which reveal the mind and wisdom of Abhedananda. He has garnered in the pages of this remarkable book a wealth of thought that came out of the very depth of the master's mind in the closing years of his life. In this book, Prajnaananda has delineated some of the important characteristics of Swami Abhedananda, which has been possible only due to his close association with him, and this treatment reveals the inner man and the one knowledge of the spirit of our subject that is essential to understand him fully. The Mana o Manush is a sort of prism through which reflects and radiates the illumined soul of the great teacher of that Abhedananda was. This intimate study is intensely interesting, not because of some anecdotes it contains, but because of the superb revelation of the inner glory of his life, a life of which we have seldom seen. The book also throws a floodlight on Abhedananda's life in America and brings to our mind the perfect picture of a preacher and his association with some of the world's celebrities, and as such it has a biographical value all its own. In our study of Swami Abhedananda's inner life, this book will prove extremely helpful. The background story of the establishment of the Ramakrishna Vedanta Movement in Calcutta, as contained in this book, gives us a correct picture of the institution. It is not a sectarian institution that Abhedananda founded in this city, and as one reads some of the clauses of the trust deed which was executed by the Swami just before his final departure from the scene, one finds that he had some great ideas and greater objectives in his mind, embracing the whole society, whose all-around welfare was his cherished dream. To know Abhedananda, one must know the full story of the greatest achievements of his life, the establishment of the Muth, that has been beautifully told in this book. And from this book, we come to know that in the role of a leader, he used to frequently declare to his disciples, "In the preaching of Sri Ramakrishna, it is a fundamental tenet that man has a duty towards every other human being." And it reveals to us the idea of the brotherhood of all human beings as cherished all through his life by Swami Abhedananda. We have seen that as he advanced step by step towards the goal of his life, Abhedananda became not only a true Vedantin of the Ramakrishna order, but the very reviver of the spirit of Vedanta. We have also seen that the age in which he flourished was a scientific age and an enlightened culture epoch. Nobody could acclaim the greatness of one who is merely a religious teacher, however great and transcendental he may be, unless he has tried to spell in part the tunes of these our days. Abhedananda, through his teachings, kept himself in the closest touch with the thought currents of the modern age. This is Abhedananda par excellence. The rapprochement of science and religion is a remarkable trait in the life of this great monist and Vedanta philosopher. He knew that science, if studied with insight, brings a man's mind to religion. He also knew that the ever-increasing success of science had posed many challenges and conflicts for religion, conflicts which are resolved in individual lives in a variety of ways. To Abhedananda, science and religion are both universal and basically very similar. Once in Calcutta, a learned professor of science came to see him and raised the question of the convergence of science and religion. It was on this occasion the Swami made the following remark. "It has been proved by the history of the progress of science that the concept of scientific absolution is entirely wrong. You know that towards the end of the last century, many of the philosophical and conceptual bases of science have been disturbed. Scientists have now become considerably more cautious and modest about extending scientific ideas into realms where they have not yet been thoroughly tested. Let us now look at the similarity and the near identity of science and religion. The goal of science is to discover the order in the universe and to understand through it the things we sense around us, and even man himself. The goal of religion is an understanding as well as acceptance of the purpose and meaning of our universe and how we fit ourselves into it. And this purposeful force we call God. When on another occasion one of his close disciples asked the master to give the idea of the role of revelation in religion, Abhedananda gave the following answer. In religion, discoveries often come by great revelations, while in science they come by a process of logical deductions and laws based on data. But this is not all. Even according to the admission of a modern scientist whom I had the chance of meeting in America, most of the important scientific discoveries came about very differently and much more closely. They are akin to the revelation, which in scientific terminology is called intuition. And if we compare how great scientific ideas arrive, do they not look remarkably like the religious revelations viewed in a non-mystical way? After all, truth is the final goal aspired by both a scientist and a man of religion. A Gautama Buddha and a Galileo stand as close as possible to truth and meaning. This was but one of the facets of the evening glow in the life of this great teacher. His acceptance of science and religion for better understanding of the problems of the world is certainly a special trait of his genius. In many of his religious and philosophical utterances and writings, we find that Swami Abhedananda used to say very often, "If religion is a way of life, science is also a way of life. In theory and practice, one seeks to give expression to the nature of God, the relation between God and man, and the other seeks to give expression to the nature of the universe and man, and the relation between man and world. So both the expressions seek to express the absolute being, who is the be-all and end-all of everything." To realize fully the convincing arguments of Abhedananda's observation on a subject like religion and science, one should go through his works. Essentially a man of strong rational faith, Abhedananda had his first allegiance to Vedanta, and whatever he wrote or said, all had their sanction in the Vedantic tenets. Reason, he knew, never disproves the infallibility of the scriptures, but shows that there is in the old path a newness waiting for those who seek it. The book of religion is ever the same book. Each new incarnation is the same man. Only Swami Abhedananda could say this, for he had the rare privilege of having Sri Ramakrishna, who fits in our modern life and thought, as his master. Truth and genius had embraced under the eye and sanction of religion. The new age awaits the partition of the spirit, and insofar as Abhedananda represented this spirit, he belongs to the new age. The last years of his life reveal to us the fact that he was in touch with the palpating aspects of modern life, and he kept in view the changes in the world outlook, though often lost in the nameless void of samadhi. And along with his scientific passion for truth's sake alone, there was also his recognition of the relation of the individual claimant to society. He thus understood so magnificent and august in the hearts of modern India. He thus stood so magnificent and august in the hearts of modern India. His voice carried great weight. His personality cast a lasting spell. He was the friend and teacher not of a few, but of the present age. His whole life was an adaptation of the ancient religion of India to the new problems of life. He knew more than anybody else that a new light shall break upon the earth, a new world shall be born, and the things that were promised shall be fulfilled. Abhedananda lived to see the fulfillment of some of this inspiring assurance for the aspiring earth. A seer par excellence, Abhedananda could see everything by his own unerring divine light, and the last 18 years of his life in Calcutta were devoted solely to the forging of a lever by which to lift up not only India, but to light up the world, and the whole human world to a lofty point in the scale of evolution. Bodied and disembodied, he has been engaged in this colossal task of complete combination with the divine power to bring the process to its assured consummation. And the evening glows of his life were but indications of it. In this connection, one is reminded of what he once said to a disciple. A new spirit of oneness will take hold of the human race. The spiritual gift of India to the world has already begun. India's spirituality is entering Europe and America in an ever-increasing measure. The movement that Swami Vivekananda started in the West has grown and will continue to grow. So one closely looks at the evening glow of his life, one is led to believe that Swami Abhedananda, who worked all through his life for India's uplift, had a clear vision of the dawn of a new age on the world. The emergence of Abhedananda as an acharya, or true world teacher, is the closing chapter of his great life. We have seen how his truth-seeking soul was blessed with a deep spiritual embrace of Sri Ramakrishna, and since then, till the time he went to the West, Abhedananda lived the life of a disciple par excellence, along with his other brother disciples. It was at the feet of the Master that he learned the absolute self-surrender to the Guru, which did not mean the abject slavishness of one individual to another, or even the spirit of unquestioning faith and trust of one man in the judgment of another of immensely superior powers and attainments. So when his own term came to play the role of teacher, Abhedananda appeared to disciples as the ideal guru. All that Swami Abhedananda said, he himself practiced. His precepts were thus exemplified in his life. He now came to be regarded as a guru and a true acharya. And wherever he went, people gathered round him to enjoy his holiness, and they felt satisfied no less by his affectionate look and suavity of manner than by the sound instructions which it was their happy lot to receive at his hands. He loved his disciples as a father would love his sons, and never encroached on their free thinking. Once, when a disciple wanted to know the meaning of self-surrender to and worship of Guru, the teacher in Abhedananda is reported to have made this reply. The Master used to teach us that the worship of the Guru is exactly not what you mean by man worship. The worship of the Guru is the outcome of one's actual direct experience of absolute consciousness, Brahman, the self of the self, which happens in the person of the Guru. It is born of deep spiritual truth, realization in the highest plane of existence. And the closing years of his life were the clear expression of the spiritual light with all its freshness and beauty that came down to the disciples of Swami Abhedananda. They found in Abhedananda, the teacher, the very embodiment of the divine grace. His blissful spiritual nature embraced one and all. It is true that he made no discrimination between high and low, yet he was very careful in choosing his disciples. He was all accessible to all earnest God-seekers, and herein lies the real greatness of Swami Abhedananda as a guru. To him, the guruship meant something higher and nobler than is usually understood. His disciples had little hesitation in communicating to him their needs and difficulties in their spiritual pursuit. Even a trifling matter would receive his utmost attention. This was possible, we can presume, because of his long association with his master, under whose benign care and direction his own life was shaped. In Sri Ramakrishna he found an ideal guru, and when the turn came in his life to play the same role, it was but natural on the part of Abhedananda that as a guru he would emulate the ideals of his own master. This was the secret of his success as a teacher. The following lines, taken from the writings of Sister Shivani, that is Mary Lepage, a disciple of Abhedananda, will at once show his eminence as a teacher. She wrote, "From the hour of my discipleship, I felt a bond growing not so much between myself and the teacher as a bond tenuous and inclusive that seemed the core of all humanity. Swami Abhedananda as my teacher is infinitely sweet, not to speak of his individual disciples whose welfare was always uppermost in his mind, and who gave a great heart to the redemption of all mankind. Every word that he uttered to his disciples was pregnant with release. He taught us to love the spirit of the Guru more than the belovedness of the teacher. He loved his spiritual children as a mother would have her children. If he demanded an obedience, he did so in a very kind way. He always watched over one with tender care. Indian or Western, all his disciples were of the same opinion. Abhedananda was the ideal acharya, infinitely sweet and graceful, though he always subjected his disciples to a constant and unrelaxing discipline. When all is said and done about this particular aspect of his life, there is but one conclusion. It was the spirit of Sri Ramakrishna that really took shape when the time came in the life and being of Swami Abhedananda as he emerged as a world teacher.